Coach?
Yeah, we're excited to be here. We obviously played a tough regular season. I think Steven told me 25 or 33 games been against NCAA tournament teams, and over half of them against top 25 teams. So I think we're battle-tested, prepared. They're all good teams. When you get to the tournament, we got a tough team in Robert Morris that's got a lot of confidence, won a lot of games. They play hard. So, I played them a couple times when I was at Buffalo. Speaking of Buffalo, I've been here in Cleveland a few times. We always had our MAC tournament here, so I love Cleveland. We've had a lot of success in Cleveland. This is a little bit closer to Alabama than Spokane, and we had some good times in Spokane and L.A. last year. So we're a little closer to home here in Cleveland, but we just got out of a pretty good practice this morning. I think our guys are ready. Mark's obviously been through it before. Jarin's been through it. I think our younger guys, the new guys, are fully aware of what we have to do. And Mark and Jarin have both had real success in the NCAA tournament. They should play off that. They have confidence knowing that we know what we need to do, but we got to go out and do it. So looking forward to playing the game tomorrow. And then, just kind of getting it started. It's a lot of build up to it, and then can't wait to get out there and get started.
Coach, we'll go to questions for the student athletes, starting in the front row here on the right.
This question is for Mark. Chris Easterling, Akron Beacon Journal. Being back in Ohio, being back in Cleveland, I know you started your career down in Athens. Just what do you remember about that time at OU, and how is what you did there help make you grow into the basketball player you've become since you've gotten to Alabama?
Oh yeah, when I was at Ohio, just spent a lot of time developing, and they did a great job of helping me be the player I am today. And just like you said, I have some experience coming to Cleveland because we've been the past 2 times, and one of those times we had won it all here, and the other times we fell short. But OU, that's I love it. It's a part of me.
Go to left side in the third row, please.
So, and also for Mark, Chris Renkel, 3 News here in Cleveland. Obviously, that was a while ago, playing OU in the MAC tournament here. How far and how different is it now, going from being that mid-major trying to break into the tournament to now trying to get back to the Final Four?
I say still having that chip on their shoulder to want to get back. At the mid-major level, you have to win the tournament to go to the championship. And at the high-major level, you still got to win games to get a good seeding. And when you get in that tournament, you just want to have that competitiveness to want to make it farther than you did last time.
Right side, third row, please.
Travis Nelson, News Herald. Again, this is for Mark. Obviously, coming back to Ohio, you talked about that, but what does this mean to try to go out and start the run you guys are trying to make here in Cleveland? And it feels like this is fitting, for you guys to try to make a run starting here.
We got a great group of guys. Everybody they work really hard, and we play for each other. And when we're doing that, we're very special.
Additional questions for the players. Second row, left side, please.
Hunter DeSaver, Bama Central. Just a question for Mark or Jarin. What have you been telling kind of the newer players on the team, just how to prepare for the NCAA tournament, given your experience?
Jarin, why don't you take that one?
Just be confident out there. Just be ready. We prepared our whole lives for this. Just have fun out there, I guess, and be confident.
Back to the right side. We'll start in the front row, and then we'll have one in the back as well.
Questions for Labaron. Just as a freshman, just what has this year been like? Getting adjusted to everything, and how much different of a basketball player do you feel like you are right now compared to even a month ago?
It's been great. Been a great journey, and I've been learning things and enjoying things, but just mostly trying to soak it all in and just be there in the moment. And just be a young guy, but. As a young guy, sometimes you got to step up, and that's what this team, needs from me. So, and I'm going to, try to be a leader and just try to have everybody on the same path.
Thanks, Labaron. We'll go back to the fourth row here on the right.
Justin Williams from The Athletic. Mark, you're one of the notable names in college basketball this year that's using that fifth COVID year. Have you thought about that at all throughout this season and maybe noticed an impact it's had, whether you specifically or just throughout the sport?
I say that extra year has definitely helped because just being able to compete at the highest level that we compete at, it's very helpful that we were able to get that year back.
Additional questions for the student athletes? Okay, we can open the floor for Coach Oats then. Questions for Coach Oats. We'll start in the front row here on the right.
Nate, just at Chris Eastern Beacon Journal, just wanted to ask you about Mark and your own experiences in the MAC. How much did your experience as a coach in the MAC, help give you kind of a baseline to what to expect from Mark because of the competition you were watching him play against while he was at OU?
Yeah, I mean, what he did at Ohio, particularly in his second year, was pretty remarkable. When I got to Alabama, we kind of had our first few practices. Me and the assistants that came from Alabama or from Buffalo with me to Alabama kind of said, man, we had quite a few kids at Buffalo that could have played here. Really helped us. You kind of look at what Mark was able to do in that league. It's a really good league still. And I looked, after you brought it up, I looked it up on my phone. Mark's 4-1 here in Cleveland. So he's got an 80% winning percentage here. It's pretty good. I thought I was good. I'm 9-1, but he's right there with me. So between the two of us, we've won a few games down here in the arena we're going to play in. So it's a good league. I knew if he did what he did there, he could perform well. Now, I don't think anybody predicted what he'd actually done here these last few years, but I knew he was going to be able to be good enough to play for us. And but even from his freshman year at Ohio to his sophomore year, he kind of came in, could score, but he wasn't known as a shooter, so he turned himself into a shooter, and now he's turned himself into a first-team All-American. So the amount of work that he puts in his game outside of practice on his own in the off-season, when he came to Alabama, he didn't even go home. He came straight from Athens right to Tuscaloosa because he wanted to get a head start. He just got himself an apartment for a month and just went to work. So it's good to see guys that work hard get rewarded for their work. And I think Mark's a prime example of it. And I think the MAC got him a great start, got him some confidence that he can play at a high level in college. And he kind of took that, ran with it, and he's done really well for his home state team in Alabama.
Thanks, Coach. Back to the left side here in the back.
Luke Taylor, Full Court Network. Coach, how are you and your staff kind of balancing the current season and then also obviously the transfer portal and NIL and all that stuff going on at kind of the same time?
Yeah, so it's a good thing for me that I got one of the best assistants in the country in Preston Murphy. He's kind of handling all the – I'm currently just locked into trying to win some games. I think the best thing you can do in recruiting is currently win games and show them, you develop talent. So I don't want our current guys thinking about anything other than winning games. That's what we're locked into. Now, we obviously have to run a program and field a team that can be back here next year. And Preston's working on that, but he's in charge of like personnel. He's done a good job on his scouting report. He's got these guys ready, and he's also spending some time on doing some of that stuff. It's interesting. Right? Portal's not open for another week, but everybody's already in the portal. Yeah, so it's a little interesting. It works like that, but good thing for me. I got Preston on staff.
Front row here on the left side.
Ashley Bastock, Cleveland.com. Nate, just looking at the opponent, Dickerson, for them and the defensive job he does, how important is that to try to neutralize him and knowing the edge he plays with?
I mean, they're good. We played them when I was at Buffalo. I played them twice. I split with them when I was head coach. We'd played them before when I was an assistant. I mean, Coach Toole does a great job. They play super hard. Spent a lot of time on Robert Morris's campus, actually. I worked 5-star coming up through. It was there every summer. I spent weeks and weeks there. I'm familiar with the program. And as I'm prepping for him, like you said, Dickerson, he's Defensive Player of the Year in the Horizon, which is a really good league. They've got the Player of the Year, Fulgaris, and then the Defensive Player of the Year in Dickerson, and neither of those two are their leading scorer. And then their leading scorer, Cam Woods, is from Alabama. Mark played with them and, kind of growing up in AAU and stuff. So, they're good. I mean, to have the leading scorer, the defensive player of the year in your conference, and the player of the year in your conference be three different guys, I think says a lot about the depth and the talent that they've got, and our guys need to recognize that. I think they do, but it's specifically about Dickerson. I mean, he's just a hard-playing elite athlete that goes and makes a lot of plays. I mean, he's really good on the help side, coming over, blocking shots. We've shown our guys video of it. They've got to be aware that he's there. You know, he's blocks, steals, effort, intensity. I mean, he's good. So now we played some pretty good defensive players in the SEC as well, but he's good.
Back to the right side here, near the back.
Coach, any update on Grant's health, and do you expect him to play tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, you know, our trainer's saying he's day-to-day. He just yesterday started doing basketball, skill workouts. He did not go on our live play and practice today, so it'll be I mean, Grant wants to play. He's a competitor. He played great in the NCAA tournament last year. It'll end up being a game-time decision based on what he feels like in the morning, but if he does end up playing, he won't have practiced anything live up until then, and I think it's looking a little better, obviously, for Sunday than maybe Friday, but there's a chance he could play, so they're going to wait to make a decision until see what he looks like tomorrow morning.
We got time for a few more for either Coach Oates or other players. Let's go back to the left side.
Colin Beasley, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Mark, I know you played with Cam a fair amount. What do you remember about the time you played with him and seeing him as a player?
From the time I played with him, he was a big time scorer, and you know, in high school he was really known for his scoring and his big numbers he put up, and you know, he's to go with it now. I still think he's a big time scorer, so we got to really respect him when he go out there on that court.
Back on the right side, fourth row.
Coach, same thing I asked Mark about him and Grant being those fifth-year guys with the COVID year. Obviously, it's had an impact on your team. What have you seen having that experience, but also, again, across the sport?
I mean, we've taken advantage of it. We've got four of them. I mean, Mark, Cliff, Grant, Chris Youngblood. So, you know, it's given a veteran experience to the sport. You know, with as many guys that have been going kind of one and done in the past, a lot of guys, and the transfer portal plays a part in it too. A lot of people aren't that familiar with maybe their players on their team or in the sport in general. I think this COVID year kind of gave a familiarity to, I mean, everybody across the country knows who Mark Sears is after what Grant did in the tournament last year. You know, if he didn't have that COVID year, he'd be done. Mark would be done. But everybody knows who these guys are now. You know, Cliff, as well as he's played through the years in the Big Ten, most of the country knows who Cliff is. You know, now Chris was doing it at a mid-major level up until this year, but he was Conference Player of the Year. You know, everybody that follows college basketball knows who Chris Youngblood is too. So it gives, you know, we've taken advantage of it. Gives us some experience. You know, you look at some young guys. You know, Jarin's the same age as what a freshman would be. He came a year early, but Jarin had 19 points to send us to the Final Four against Clemson in the Elite Eight. He played great. Labaron's a freshman, so it helps the young guys that are really talented like these two to have some older guys around them that have been in a lot of games that can kind of settle things down. You know, assure them, give them some confidence. So we've taken advantage of it. I think it's helped the sport in general. It gives them a little bit better face to college basketball. I mean, you kind of look across, obviously Cooper Flagg's very good, and you come across some of those talents like that, and there's some other good freshmen across the country. We got one, Labaron, but a lot of the guys that are the better college basketball players have been in college basketball, and people know who they are, and I think it helps college basketball in general, and I think in the long run it's probably going to help the NBA getting a little bit more polished player coming to the NBA ready to play too.
You got time for a couple more, back row right, and then we'll go to the front row and wrap it up.
Chris Stewart, Crimson Tide Sports Network. Coach, you talked about Labaron coming into this season, how talented it was, but his competitiveness was what really set him apart. You know, even though he had veteran guards ahead of him, his team seemed to win every drill, because I know there's competition in every drill you have. Same thing with Jarin. Is it their competitive nature as much as or more so than their talent that allowed them both to get on the floor at the level they have at such a young age?
Yeah, I mean, they're both super talented, obviously, and you can see it as you watch them. But, yeah, I think Labaron just walked in with the right mindset when he got to campus this year, kind of walked in like he's got a chip on his shoulder with a lot to prove, and he did have a lot to prove. I mean, he hadn't done anything in college yet. He's a lot of question marks around him, and I think the best way you remove doubt and kind of play with that chip on your shoulder is just compete, try to out-compete, and I think, he's got one of the best guards. I mean, Mark's first-team All-American. He's got arguably the best guard in the country to go against every day in practice, and he took advantage of it. I mean, he got better by going against Mark. I mean, there's a lot of days his team beat Mark's, and I think it made Mark better having a guy like Labaron in there to make him better. Every day in the summer, he couldn't take days off or he's going to lose. So, Labaron competed a lot harder than what a lot of people thought. I think that's what's got him to the point he's got. I think it's made him, Mark, better. And, when Jarin came a year early, I think he made a big jump. He kind of came back driving the ball with a lot more physicality. I think he's got some confidence knowing he's done it at this level already. Shoot, he went 5 of 8 from 3, had 19 points in an Elite 8 game to send his team to the Final Four when he should have been a senior in high school, which is pretty impressive. So to have the competitiveness that these two young guys have, and then to kind of pair it with all the experience we have, is I've had a luxury in coaching this team this year, and hopefully that bodes well for us here in this tournament.
Last question, right side, front row.
They've talked about the physicality in the SEC this year and how physical it's been, and how much of an adjustment coming into the NCAA tournament are you guys going to have to do dealing with the whistle and the varying whistles you might get here compared to in conference, as well as how much does that physicality you went through in the SEC prepare you for whatever you might see this over this run?
I would say it's all about, just finishing your defense, being able to go out and get a stop and just come down with the rebound. And that's, something that we try to do every time. But, it can be really hard if you're playing against real physical teams. So you just got to max their physicality and just try to do more than them.
Jaren's been one of the most physical players we've had. Mark draws more fouls than about anybody in the country. So, I'll say this. I think it's a great question. I actually addressed it with our team today as Labaron fouled somebody in practice today on a blatant, obvious one that it seemed to me blatant, obvious that should get called 100% of the time everywhere across the globe in basketball, but it didn't always get called in our league. So I just said, look, some of the physicality that some of our opponents have been able to get away with in our leagues, and not going to go in this tournament. And I'll say this for the SEC. We've got great leadership, starting at the top with Greg Sankey, but Garth Glissman came in from the NBA. He's given the coaches a lot of data. The fouling needed to decrease in the SEC. The officials were instructed to call more fouls. Obviously right away out of the gate, our first exhibition game against Memphis, there was 1 million fouls called, and I think they tried to. I'll say this. I expect it to be a much tighter whistle in the NCAA tournament. And I think we haven't been, as physical in the fouling aspect all the time as maybe some other teams in our league. I think maybe we'll have a little less adjustment to the whistle. But, if a team tries to get physical with us in the tournament, we're used to physicality. I mean, everybody tries to get physical with us, stop our offense. We're the number 1 scoring offense in the country, and grabbing, holding, not letting us cut. It's been an effective strategy if it doesn't get called. So I think our guys will be able to play with the physicality, and I'm actually welcoming having a little bit tighter whistle to give more freedom of movement, hopefully, than what maybe we've had in the regular season.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate your time. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.